The sky above Kethra 7 filled with ships. Valara emerged from the hidden tunnel and looked up at the most beautiful sight she had ever seen. 12 warships of the royal fleet surrounded her uncle's single vessel. At the center of the formation was the Eternal Throne, her grandmother's personal flagship. There would be no escape for Duke Varon now. Scout walked beside her as they made their way back to the research station. Danny and Linda followed close behind, watching the sky with awe. They had never seen so many alien vessels in one place. The power on display was staggering, and all of it had come for one teenage girl. At the station, chaos had erupted. Commander Torvax was shouting orders at his soldiers, demanding they prepare for evacuation. But it was too late. A transport ship bearing the royal crest descended from the Eternal Throne and landed just outside the station. The doors opened, and a squad of royal guards emerged, their armor gleaming in the sunlight. Behind them walked an elderly Sindari woman with silver hair and eyes that held the wisdom of 100 cycles. She wore flowing robes of white and gold, and a simple crown rested on her head. Empress Solara, ruler of the Sindari Empire, had come herself. "Grandmother!" Valara cried out. She tried to run forward, but her legs still ached. Scouts stayed beside her, matching her pace as she limped toward the Empress. "Empress!" Solara's face showed no emotion as she watched her granddaughter approach. But when Valara finally reached her and fell into her arms, the old woman's composure cracked. Tears spilled down her blue cheeks as she held her granddaughter tight. "I thought I had lost you," the Empress whispered. "When Varan told me pirates had killed you, I wanted to die. But something felt wrong. The story did not make sense. Then we received a message from this human station, telling us you were alive and that your uncle had tried to murder you. It is all true, Grandmother. Uncle Varan ordered Commander Torvex to kill me. They crashed the ship and left me to die in a ravine. But the humans found me. They saved my life." The Empress looked up at Director Cole and the station crew, who were watching the reunion with tears in their own eyes. Then her gaze fell on Scout, who was sitting beside Valara with his tongue hanging out. "And what is this creature?" the Empress asked. Valara smiled and knelt beside Scout, wrapping her arm around him. "This is Scout. He is a dog. When I was dying in the cold, he found me and stayed with me all night. He kept me warm when I should have frozen. He protected me when soldiers were searching for me. He's the reason I am alive." The Empress studied the dog with interest. "A beast that protects strangers. This is unusual. He is not a beast, Grandmother. He is family. That is what humans call their companion animals. Dogs live with humans, work with them, love them. They are loyal beyond reason. Scout did not know me, but he saved me anyway. That is what he does. That is what humans teach their animals to do." The Empress was silent for a long moment. Then she turned to Director Cole. "You risked everything to protect my granddaughter. Your entire station could have been destroyed. Your people could have been killed. Why did you do this for a stranger?" Director Cole straightened her shoulders. "Because it was the right thing to do, Your Majesty. Valara was an innocent girl in trouble. We do not turn away innocent people, regardless of what species they are. That is not who we are. Even though your peoples are not allies. Even though we have viewed you with suspicion for generations. Suspicion and prejudice can change," Director Cole replied. "Trust is built one act at a time. This was our act." The Empress nodded slowly. She looked at her granddaughter, then at Scout, then back at the humans. For the first time, she smiled. "Perhaps we have misjudged your species," she said. "A people who teach their animals to love and protect strangers cannot be all bad. You have done the Sindari Empire a great service today. This will not be forgotten." She turned to her guards. "Take my brother into custody. He will face trial for attempted murder and treason against the crown." Duke Varan was dragged from the station in chains, screaming about human lies and fabricated evidence. Commander Torvex was captured trying to flee in a landing craft. Both were taken to the Eternal Throne to await Judgment Dot as the chaos settled. Valara approached her grandmother with a request that had been building in her heart since she woke up in the medical bay. "Grandmother, I want to take Scout with me when we return home." The Empress raised an eyebrow. "You want to bring this human animal to our world? He saved my life. He is my friend. I cannot leave him behind." Director Cole stepped forward. "Your Majesty, Scout technically belongs to our station. But if Valara wants him, we will be honored to give him to her. He clearly loves her. We have never seen him bond with anyone like this before." Corporal Danny Vance nodded, though his eyes were wet. "Scout is special. He deserves a special life. If that life is with Valara, then that is where he should be." The Empress considered this carefully. Then she looked at Scout, who was staring up at Valara with complete devotion in his brown eyes. "Very well," the Empress said. "The dog will come with us. He will be treated as a hero of the Empire." Valara hugged her grandmother again, then knelt down to embrace Scout. "You hear that, boy? You are coming home with me. You are going to be the first Earth dog on a Sindari world." Scout wagged his tail and licked her face. Before the royal party departed, Valara addressed the entire station crew. They gathered in the common room, the same place where they had voted to protect her. She looked at each of their faces and felt her heart swell with gratitude. "I came to this moon thinking I was going to die," she said. "I had been betrayed by my own blood. I believed I was alone in the universe. But you proved me wrong. You showed me that family is not about blood. Family is about choice. You chose to protect me. You risked everything for a stranger. I will never forget that." She paused, struggling to find the right words. "My people think humans are primitive and dangerous. I believed that too once. But now I know the truth. Humans are kind. Humans are brave. Humans are loyal. You taught your animals to love, and in doing so, you proved that you understand something my people have forgotten. Love is the greatest strength in the universe. It is stronger than fear, stronger than hate, stronger than death itself." She looked down at Scout, who was sitting beside her with his head held high. "One small Earth dog taught me that lesson. I will carry it with me for the rest of my life. And when I am Empress, I will make sure the entire galaxy knows what humans truly are." Years passed. Empress Valara sat on the golden throne of the Sindari Empire, her silver eyes wise and kind. At her feet lay an old German shepherd, his muzzle gray with age, but his eyes still bright with love. On her desk rested a small statue of a dog, a gift from the Human Research Station on KETHR. -7. Relations between humans and Sindari had never been better. Trade agreements had been signed. Cultural exchanges had begun. And at the center of every diplomatic meeting was a story that both species loved to tell. The story of a dying princess and a brave dog who found her in the darkness. Valara reached down and scratched behind Scout's ears. He sighed contentedly and closed his eyes. "Thank you, old friend," she whispered. "For everything?" Scout's tail wagged one last time. And somewhere in the stars, the universe smiled. Duke Varan's voice echoed through the station's communication system. It was smooth and calm, like a serpent pretending to be harmless. Valara stood in the corner of the control room, hidden from the video feed, and listened to the lies pour from her uncle's mouth. "This is Duke Varan of the Sindari Empire. We are searching for survivors from a diplomatic vessel that was attacked by pirates several days ago. My beloved niece, Princess Valara, was aboard that ship. We fear the worst, but we must search every moon and planet in this sector to be certain. I request permission to land search parties on your moon. Director Cole kept her expression neutral. Duke Varon, this is Director Patricia Cole of the Human Research Station on Kethra 7. We are aware of no survivors or crash landings in our area. Our sensors have detected no unusual activity. Your sensors may have missed something, Varon replied. There was an edge to his voice now. The terrain on Kethra 7 is difficult. Our equipment is more advanced. We will conduct a thorough search. With respect, Duke Varon, this is human-controlled territory. You need authorization from Earth Central to conduct military operations here. This is not a military operation, Varon said coldly. This is a rescue mission for a member of the royal family. I am sure your superiors would not want to obstruct such a noble effort. I'm sending landing parties now. Please do not interfere. The communication ended. Director Cole turned to her crew with a grim expression. We have maybe 2 hours before they reach this station. Everyone knows the plan. Move. The plan was simple but risky. Corporal Danny Vance had remembered an old mining tunnel about 3 kilometers from the station. It did not appear on any official survey maps because it had been dug by illegal miners decades ago and then abandoned. If they could get Valara there before the Sindari arrived, she might be hidden long enough for help to arrive. Danny led the way with Scout at his side. Valara followed on her crutches, moving as fast as her healing leg would allow. Linda came behind her, carrying supplies and medical equipment. The rest of the crew stayed at the station to maintain the illusion that nothing unusual was happening. The terrain was brutal. Rocky slopes, narrow passages, and unstable ground made every step dangerous. Valara struggled, but refused to slow down. She knew what would happen to these humans if her uncle found her here. Their deaths would be on her conscience forever. Through here, Danny said, pointing to a crack in a rocky hillside. The tunnel entrance is narrow, but it opens up inside. They squeezed through the gap one by one. Scout went first, his nose checking for danger. The tunnel was dark and cold, but it was also invisible from the surface. Perfect for hiding inside, they found a small chamber about 20 meters deep. Danny set up battery-powered lights and heating units while Linda arranged the medical supplies. Valara sat on a flat rock and watched them work, feeling useless and guilty. You should not be doing this, she said quietly. You should tell my uncle where I am and save yourselves. Danny stopped and looked at her. Do you know what Scout did when he found you? He lay down in the freezing cold for an entire night to keep you alive. He did not know you. He did not care what species you were. He just knew you needed help. That is what humans do too. We help people who need it. Valara shook her head. Your whole station could be destroyed. Everyone could die. All because of me. Then we die doing the right thing, Linda said firmly. I would rather die protecting an innocent person than live knowing I handed her over to a murderer. Scout walked over to Valara and sat beside her. He pushed his head against her hand, demanding to be petted. Despite everything, she smiled and scratched behind his ears. Back at the station, Director Cole watched the Sindari landing craft descend. 12 soldiers emerged, led by Commander Torvex himself. Valara had described him perfectly. Tall, dark blue skin, cold yellow eyes. He walked with the confidence of someone who expected to get whatever he wanted. Director Cole, Torvex said, we appreciate your cooperation. My soldiers will search the surrounding area. You will confine your personnel to the station until our operation is complete. Of course, Director Cole replied calmly. We want to help find the princes as much as you do. Torvex studied her face for a long moment. Then he nodded and walked away. The soldiers spread out across the lunar surface, their scanning equipment humming as they searched for any sign of Sindari life in the hidden tunnel. Valara heard a sound that made her blood freeze. Footsteps on the rocks above. Sindari soldiers were close. Very close. Danny held a finger to his lips. Everyone went silent. Scout's ears perked up, and a low growl rumbled in his throat. Danny quickly covered the dog's muzzle and shook his head. Scout fell silent, but his body remained tense, ready to spring. A voice came from outside the tunnel. Scanner shows residual heat signatures in this area. Could be geological activity. Could be something else. Another voice responded. Check the crevices. Leave nothing unexplored. Light appeared at the tunnel entrance. Valara's heart pounded so hard she thought it might burst. This was it. They would find her, and they would kill everyone who had helped her. Scout suddenly pulled free from Danny and ran toward the tunnel entrance. Before anyone could stop him, he squeezed through the crack and disappeared outside. No! Danny whispered frantically. Scout, come back. They heard barking outside. Then shouting in the Sindari language. Then more barking, growing more distant. Valara understood what was happening. Scout was leading the soldiers away from the tunnel. He was creating a diversion. That brave, stupid dog, Linda breathed. Danny moved toward the entrance, but Valara grabbed his arm. Wait, listen. The voices faded. The footsteps moved away, following the barking. Scout was pulling them deeper into the rocky wasteland, away from the hidden tunnel. Long minutes passed. Valara sat in the darkness, praying to God she barely believed in. Please let Scout be safe. Please let this dog who saved my life find his way back. Finally, they heard a familiar sound. Paws on rock. Panting breath. Scout squeezed back through the tunnel entrance and ran straight to Valara, his tail wagging frantically. She threw her arms around him and held him tight, not caring about the dust and dirt covering his fur. You wonderful, brave creature, she whispered. You saved us again. Scout licked her face in response. The hours dragged on. Night fell on Kethris 7. The Sindari continued their search, but the hidden tunnel remained undiscovered. Eventually, Danny's radio crackled to life. Vance, this is Director Cole. The Sindari are demanding we surrender whoever is hiding in the tunnels. They have threatened to destroy the station if we do not comply. We are out of options. Valara took the radio from Danny's hand. Director Cole, this is Valara. Tell my uncle I'm coming out. I will not let anyone else die for me. There was a pause. Then Director Cole spoke again, and there was something different in her voice. Something like hope. Princess, stand by. Dr. Brooks has been working on something. He found an old emergency frequency that might reach the Sindari royal court directly, bypassing your uncle's control. The message was sent 6 hours ago. We just received a response. Valara felt her heart stop. What response? Ships are entering the system. A lot of ships. And their lead vessel is broadcasting the personal banner of Empress Solara. Valara dropped the radio. Tears filled her eyes. Her grandmother. Her grandmother had come. Scout pressed against her side, sensing her overwhelming emotions. She buried her face in his fur and wept with relief. The medical bay was silent after Valara spoke. Everyone stared at her, trying to process what she had just said. A princess. An actual alien princess was lying in their small research station on a forgotten moon at the edge of human space. Director Patricia Cole stepped forward, her expression careful and controlled. Princess Valara, I am Director Cole. This is a human research station. We study minerals and geological formations on this moon. Can you tell us how you came to be injured in that ravine? Valara looked down at Scout, who was still lying beside her on the bed. She ran her fingers through his soft fur, finding comfort in the warmth of his body. She did not know if she could trust these humans. Her people had taught her that humans were dangerous and unpredictable. But this dog was human property, and he had saved her life. That had to mean something. My uncle tried to kill me, she said finally. He wants the throne. When my grandmother dies, I am next in line to rule. But if I am dead, he becomes emperor. He sent his soldier to escort me to a diplomatic meeting, but it was all a trap. They crashed the ship here and left me to die. The humans exchanged worried glances. Linda sat down in a chair beside the bed, her face full of sympathy. That is terrible. I am so sorry that happened to you. We need to contact someone, Dr. Brooks said. Our people must be looking for her. Valara shook her head quickly. No. If you contact the Sindari, my uncle will find out where I am. He will come for me and kill everyone who has seen me alive. You cannot tell anyone I am here. Director Cole rubbed her temples. This situation was far more complicated than she had expected. Princess, we are a small station with limited resources. We cannot protect you from an entire alien empire. We need to contact someone who can help. There is no one, Valara said. Her voice cracked with emotion. My grandmother does not know what my uncle has done. She trusts him completely. If you contact Sindari officials, the message will go through channels that my uncle controls. He will intercept it and send soldiers to eliminate all of us. The room fell silent again. Danny stood by the door, his hand resting on Scout's collar. The dog had finally climbed down from the bed, but stayed close to Valara, sitting right beside her and looking up at her with devoted eyes. What is this creature? Valara asked suddenly. She was looking at Scout with curiosity. I have never seen anything like him before. When I was dying in the cold, he came to me and kept me warm. He stayed with me all night. Why would he do that? Linda smiled gently. His name is Scout. He is a dog. On Earth, dogs and humans have lived together for thousands of years. They are our companions and protectors. They love unconditionally and ask for nothing in return. A companion? Valara seemed confused. You keep animals as friends? More than friends, Danny said. Family. Scout is part of our station family. He eats with us, sleeps in our quarters, and works with us every day. Dogs can sense when someone is in trouble. He must have known you were hurt and came to help. Valara looked at Scout with new understanding. On her world, animals were either wild creatures to be avoided or resources to be used. The idea of forming a bond with another species, based purely on love, was completely foreign to her. But this dog had shown her more kindness in one night than her own uncle had shown in her entire life. Thank you, Scout, she whispered. The dog's tail wagged, and he placed his head on the bed beside her hand. Over the next few days, Valara slowly recovered. Her leg healed faster than the humans expected, and her other injuries began to fade. She spent most of her time in the medical bay, with Scout always nearby. The dog slept on the floor beside her bed every night and followed her everywhere. When she started walking again with crutches, the station crew grew to like the young princess. She was curious about everything human and asked hundreds of questions. She wanted to know about Earth, about human history, about their food and music and art. She was especially fascinated by the concept of pets and spent hours learning about different animals that humans kept as companions. Dogs and cats and birds and fish, she said one afternoon, while sitting in the common room with Linda and Danny. You share your homes with so many different creatures. My people think humans are strange and primitive. But this is not primitive. This is beautiful. Linda laughed softly. Some people on Earth think keeping pets is silly. But I've always believed that the way we treat animals shows who we really are as a species. Valara nodded slowly. She looked down at Scout, who was sleeping with his head on her foot. My people judge worth by power and strength. We value those who can conquer and control. But you value something different. You value love. You value loyalty. These are not weaknesses. These are the greatest strengths of all. The peaceful days came to an end on the 5th morning after Valara's rescue. Dr. Brooks rushed into the common room with panic in his eyes. Director Cole, we have a problem. Long-range sensors just picked up a ship entering the system. It is Sindari, a large warship. Valara went pale. What design? What markings? Dr. Brooks showed her the sensor reading on his tablet. She stared at the image, and her hands began to shake. That is my uncle's flagship, she said. The Blade of Varon. He has come to finish what he started. Director Cole immediately called a meeting of all station personnel. 16 people gathered in the common room, from scientists to maintenance workers to security staff. Everyone listened as the director explained the situation. In approximately 3 hours, a Sindari warship will enter orbit around Kethra 7. They are almost certainly looking for Princess Valara. If they find her here, they may kill all of us to keep their secret safe. Fear spread through the room. People whispered to each other. Some looked angry. Others looked ready to hand Valara over to save themselves. Danny stepped forward before anyone could speak. I say we protect her. Scout found her for a reason. He saved her life. That makes her one of us? This is not about a dog, someone argued. This is about an alien war. We are researchers, not soldiers. She is a kid, Linda said firmly. A teenager who was betrayed by her own family. Are we really going to throw her to the wolves? Director Cole raised her hand for silence. I am not going to order anyone to risk their life. But I am also not going to hand over an innocent girl to be murdered. So I am asking for volunteers. If you want to help protect Princess Valara, step forward. If you want to stay out of this, no one will judge you. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Danny stepped forward. Then Linda. Then Dr. Brooks and Dr. Tanaka. One by one, every single person in the room moved to stand together. Director Cole nodded with pride in her eyes. Then we fight. We have 3 hours to figure out how to hide a princess from an alien warship. Let us get to work. Valara watched them with tears running down her blue cheeks. These humans, who had every reason to fear her people, had chosen to protect her. Not because they had to. Not because they would gain anything, but simply because it was the right thing to do. She looked down at Scout, who was pressing against her leg as if he could sense her emotions. Your humans are remarkable, she whispered. Scout just wagged his tail and licked her hand. Corporal Danny Vance had been searching for Scout since midnight. The German Shepherd had been on a routine perimeter sweep when something caught his attention and he bolted into the rocky wilderness. Danny had called after him, but Scout ignored every command. That was unusual. Scout was the best-trained dog on the station. He never disobeyed orders unless something important demanded his attention. Danny pulled his jacket tighter against the cold morning air and checked his tracker again. Scout's collar signal led deeper into a ravine that was not on their regular patrol route. The young corporal had been walking for over an hour, climbing over rocks and squeezing through narrow passages. His legs ached and his lungs burned from the thin atmosphere. But he could not return without Scout. The dog was more than just a search and rescue animal. He was family. The sun was just beginning to rise over the mountains. When Danny finally spotted Scout, the dog was lying at the bottom of a small crater, his body pressed against something on the ground. Danny climbed down carefully, his boots slipping on loose stones. As he got closer, his heart nearly stopped. It was a body, but not a human body. The figure was humanoid, but clearly alien. Pale blue skin, delicate ridges along the temples, silver hair matted with dried blood. A young female, maybe a teenager by human standards. She was wearing torn clothes that looked expensive, like something royalty would wear. And she was not moving. Danny dropped to his knees beside Scout. The dog looked up at him with tired eyes, but did not move from his position. His body was still pressed against the alien girl, keeping her warm through the freezing night. "Good boy," Danny whispered. "You found her. You kept her alive." He reached out and touched the girl's neck, searching for a pulse. Her skin was cold, but not frozen. After a moment, he felt it. A faint heartbeat, weak but steady. She was alive. Danny immediately called the station on his radio. "This is Corporal Vance. I need immediate medical evacuation at my location. I have found an injured alien female, unconscious, possible internal injuries. She has been exposed to the elements all night. Scout found her and stayed with her. We need help now." Director Patricia Cole's voice came through the radio, sharp with surprise. "An alien? What kind of alien? Are there others?" "I do not see anyone else, Director. Just her. She looks young, maybe a teenager. And she is wearing what looks like formal clothing. Expensive stuff. I think she might be someone important." There was a pause on the other end. "Hold your position, Corporal. Medical team is on the way. And Vance, keep this quiet until we know what we are dealing with." Danny sat back and looked at the unconscious alien girl. Her face was peaceful despite the blood and bruises. Scout had not moved from her side. In fact, when Danny tried to check the girl's injuries, Scout let out a low warning growl. "Easy, boy," Danny said softly. "I'm trying to help her." Scout seemed to understand and relaxed, but he stayed close to the girl, his head resting on her arm. Danny had never seen the dog act this way before. Scout was protective by nature, but this was different. He had bonded with this stranger in a single night more than he had bonded with most of the station crew in 3 years. The medical team arrived 20 minutes later. Nurse Linda Marsh led the group, carrying a portable stretcher and emergency supplies. She stopped short when she saw the alien girl. "My goodness," she breathed. "Where did she come from?" "I do not know," Danny replied. "But Scout found her last night and would not leave her side. He probably saved her life by keeping her warm." Linda knelt beside the girl and began her examination. The alien's physiology was different from humans, but the basics were similar enough. She had a broken left leg, a head wound that had stopped bleeding, and possible hypothermia. Linda worked quickly, stabilizing the leg and wrapping the girl in thermal blankets. "We need to move her now," Linda said. "Her temperature is dangerously low. Another hour out here, and she would have died." They lifted the girl onto the stretcher. Scout immediately jumped up and walked alongside, refusing to be separated from her. Danny smiled despite his exhaustion. Dogs were loyal, but this was something else entirely. The journey back to the research station took an hour. By the time they arrived, the girl was still unconscious, but her vital signs were improving. Dr. Kevin Brooks, the station's lead researcher, was waiting at the medical bay with Dr. Yuki Tanaka, their xenobiologist. Both scientists stared at the alien girl with a mixture of fascination and concern. "I have never seen this species in person," Dr. Tanaka said, "but I recognize the markings. She is Sindari. They are one of the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. Very advanced, very powerful, and very suspicious of humans." Director Cole stood in the doorway, her arms crossed. "So we have an injured Sindari teenager in our medical bay, and we have no idea how she got here or who she is. This could be a diplomatic nightmare. Or an opportunity," Dr. Brooks said quietly. "If we save her life, maybe it improves relations between our species." The director shook her head. "Or her people accuse us of kidnapping her and start a war. We need to be very careful." They moved the girl to a bed and began treating her injuries properly. Dr. Tanaka worked with Linda to set the broken leg using a combination of human medicine and what she knew about Sindari physiology. The head wound was cleaned and bandaged. Warm fluids were administered to raise her body temperature. Through it all, Scout stayed beside the bed. He would not eat. He would not drink. He simply lay on the floor with his head on his paws, watching over the alien girl like a guardian. Hours passed. Night fell again on Kethris 7. The station crew took turns checking on their mysterious patient. Danny sat with Scout for most of the evening, talking softly to the dog and promising him that the girl would be okay. Just before midnight, something changed. The girl's eyes fluttered open. She saw the unfamiliar ceiling first, metal panels and soft lighting. Then she turned her head and saw the human standing nearby. Her silver eyes went wide with fear. She tried to sit up, to run, but pain shot through her body, and she fell back with a cry. Scout was on his feet instantly. He jumped onto the bed and pressed his nose against her face, making soft whimpering sounds. The girl froze. She looked at the dog with confusion, and then slowly, recognition dawned on her face. "You," she whispered. Her voice was weak but clear. "You stayed with me." Scout's tail wagged. He licked her face gently, and for the first time since waking up, the alien girl smiled. She reached out and touched his fur, the same way she had done in the ravine when she thought she was dying. Linda stepped forward slowly, her hands raised to show she meant no harm. "You are safe here. We found you injured and brought you in to treat your wounds. Can you tell us your name?" The girl looked at the humans with suspicion, but Scout was still beside her, still pressing against her hand. And somehow, that made her feel safe. "My name is Velara," she said quietly. "I am Princess Velara of the Sindari Empire, and I need your help." The small diplomatic vessel shook violently as it entered the atmosphere of Kethris 7. "Princess." Velara gripped her seat and looked out the window at the barren moon below. Rocky mountains and deep ravines stretched across the brown and gray landscape. This was not where she was supposed to be. She was supposed to be traveling to the Galactic Council to represent her people in peace negotiations. But something had gone terribly wrong. Commander Torvex stood at the controls, his face calm despite the alarms screaming throughout the ship. He was her uncle's most trusted soldier, a tall Sindari warrior with dark blue skin and cold yellow eyes. Her grandmother, the Empress, had sent him to protect her on this journey. But Velara had noticed something strange in his behavior since they left home. He spoke little. He watched her too closely. And now, as the ship fell toward this forgotten moon, she saw no fear in his eyes, only purpose. The ship crashed into a rocky valley with a sound like thunder. Velara was thrown from her seat and hit the metal floor hard. Pain exploded in her head, and her left leg bent in a way that made her scream. She lay there, breathing fast, trying to understand what had happened. Smoke filled the cabin. Warning lights flashed red. And through the haze, she saw Torvex walking toward her, completely unharmed. He grabbed her arm and pulled her up roughly. She cried out as weight pressed on her broken leg, but he did not care. He dragged her toward the emergency hatch and forced it open. Cold air rushed in, carrying the smell of dust and metal. Torvex pulled her outside and dropped her onto the rocky ground. Velara looked up at him with confusion and growing terror. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. Her voice was weak. Blood ran down her face from a cut above her eye. Torvex looked down at her with no emotion. "Your uncle sends his regards, Princess. He wanted me to tell you that your sacrifice will bring stability to the Empire. With you gone, he will take the throne when the Empress dies. No one will question it." Velara felt her blood turn cold. Her uncle Varan had always been ambitious, but she never thought he would murder his own family. She tried to crawl away, but her broken leg made movement impossible. Torvex watched her struggle for a moment, then turned and walked back toward the crashed ship. "The escape pod still works," he said over his shoulder. I will report that pirates attacked us and that you died bravely. Your grandmother will mourn you. Your people will honor your memory, and your uncle will rule. Please, Valara called out. Please do not leave me here. But Torvex did not look back. She heard the escape pod launch from the other side of the wreckage. She watched it rise into the gray sky and disappear among the stars. Then she was alone. The silence was overwhelming. Valara lay on the cold rocks and stared up at the sky. Her home world was somewhere up there, millions of light years away. Her grandmother was probably preparing for her arrival at the council. She had no idea that her granddaughter was lying broken and bleeding on a forgotten moon at the edge of human space. Valara tried to move again, but the pain was too much. Her vision blurred and darkness crept at the edges of her sight. She was going to die here. She was only 17 cycles old, and she was going to die alone on a world where no one would ever find her. Tears ran down her blue cheeks and mixed with the blood on her face. The temperature began to drop as the sun set behind the mountains. Valara had learned about Kethris 7 in her studies. It was a mining moon, mostly abandoned now that the valuable minerals had been extracted. The nights were dangerously cold. Without shelter, she would freeze before morning. But she could not walk. She could barely breathe. All she could do was wait for death. She thought about her grandmother, the great empress who had ruled the Sindari for over 100 cycles. She thought about her mother, who had died giving birth to her. She thought about all the things she would never do, all the places she would never see. She had wanted to be a good princess. She had wanted to make her people proud. But now none of that mattered. The sky grew dark and stars appeared above her. Strange stars in unfamiliar patterns. She did not know their names. On her home world, she could name every constellation in the sky. Her grandmother had taught her when she was young. They would sit together in the palace garden and look up at the night, and the empress would tell her stories about each group of stars. Those were happy memories. Those were the memories she wanted to hold on to as she died. A sound broke through her thoughts. Something moving in the rocks nearby. Valara turned her head and saw shadows shifting in the darkness. Fear gripped her heart. She did not know what creatures lived on this moon. She was too weak to defend herself. If something wanted to eat her, she could not stop it. The sound grew closer. Heavy breathing. Footsteps on stone. Then a shape emerged from the shadows, and Valara saw something she did not recognize. It was a four-legged creature covered in thick brown and black fur. It had a long nose, pointed ears, and eyes that reflected the starlight. It was bigger than any animal she had seen before, and it was coming straight toward her. Valara tried to scream, but only a weak sound escaped her throat. The creature stopped a few feet away and looked at her. Its tail moved back and forth behind it. It lowered its head and sniffed the air. Then it walked closer, so close that she could feel its warm breath on her face. She closed her eyes and waited for the pain of teeth tearing into her flesh. But it did not come. Instead, she felt something warm and wet touch her cheek. The creature was licking her face. She opened her eyes and found herself looking directly into the animal's gaze. Its eyes were warm brown, full of something she could not name. Concern, perhaps, or curiosity, or something even deeper. The creature lay down beside her, pressing its warm body against hers. Heat spread through her frozen limbs. She did not understand what was happening. This animal should have killed her. That was what animals did. They hunted and killed. That was what she had been taught. But this creature was protecting her. It was keeping her warm. Valara reached out with a trembling hand and touched the soft fur. The creature made a low sound in its throat, not threatening but almost gentle, like it was trying to comfort her. She did not know what kind of animal this was or where it had come from. But as the night grew colder and darker, she held on to its fur and let its warmth keep her alive. Her eyes grew heavy. The blood loss and cold were taking their toll. She knew she might not wake up if she fell asleep, but she was too tired to fight anymore. As her consciousness faded, she felt the creature move closer, curling its body around her like a shield against the night. The last thing she heard before darkness took her was a sound in the distance. A howl, long and mournful, echoing through the empty ravine. And somewhere in her fading mind, she wondered if perhaps she was not meant to die alone after all.